Hello, hello. Welcome all, and thank you so much for stopping by. I have a video here for you today that I've been looking forward to doing a react to for a while now. Now, this video is from Hannah Spier. Now, I do hope I'm pronouncing that correct, as I'm only going by the text. I haven't actually heard it pronounced outwardly. So, Hannah, if you are watching this and I do mispronounce that, I do apologize. But the reason I wanted to react to her content today is that she is actually a practicing psychiatrist, and she makes a lot of videos tackling a lot of varied topics, and she actually has a way of breaking it down using her skill set that is extremely enlightening. I have learned quite a few things from watching Hannah, and I believe she is critically underrated and really did want to get the news out about her a little bit. Now, today we'll be reacting to a video that's discussing beauty standards, and I think she has a really nuanced take on it as well. And she does make a lot of really good points. There is a few things here and there that I do want to catch up and explain, but let's get started with her. And if you do like her content and you are interested in seeing an actual practicing psychiatrist, remember that a psychiatrist and a psychologist are not the same things. A psychiatrist is the actual doctor. They've done the full 8 years. They've gotten their doctorate. They can like prescribe things and whatnot. And a psychologist can't do a lot of that. And it doesn't take 8 years to become a psychologist. Not to disparage psychologists, there's just a different level of expertise there. So it is just important to note that Hannah is that top level of expertise. Anyway, let's get going.
How did we go from this to this and from this to this?
I should also state, because we've had a lot of new subscribers recently, if you are new to the channel, I do always recommend watching these videos at 1.25 or 1.5 times speed, whatever is comfortable to you. In my experience, it just makes the viewing a little bit more comfortable, and then you can adjust it to your own preferences. I mean, you can even slow it down if I'm talking too fast or anything like that for you. YouTube does have those speed controls built in, so why not use them?
At the same time, we talk endlessly about how unfair beauty standards are for women. We blame society, the
And I'm going to be pausing and jumping in a lot on this one because she does make a lot of really good points here. But this first one she's pointed out about this rhetoric that it's unfair beauty standards. Here's the thing. It does go both ways. You cannot argue solely in one direction or the other because it is unfair both ways. But a point that I would make is that these quote beauty standards that are supposedly being forced upon women is largely self-inflicted. I have made this point before, but if you're going on a date with a man, you as a woman do not need to do a 3-hour makeup routine before going out on that date. No straight man who is genuinely interested in you is going to care. Hell, he doesn't even have to be genuinely interested in you at the start. I mean, we can presume that because he's asked you out on a date, or, you know, maybe you asked him out on a date, who knows. But that beauty regime and doing all of you've got the concealer, you've got the foundation, you've got the toner, you've got the eyeshadow, you've got the wingtips, like all of that type of stuff. A man doesn't really care. When a man sees you, and let's assume a romantic related context here, he does want to make sure you're hygienic and you can look after yourself. But looking after yourself does not mean you have, 10 kilos of makeup on your face. It's just you seem competent. That's really the main thing. All of these makeup type, it is so hard because they are, I'm not going to use the term indoctrinated, but they are hit pretty early with this thought process, thinking they have to put on makeup. But you're doing that for other women is the point I'm getting at. You're doing it to boost your own self-confidence and to boost your value in the eyes of women, not men. So a large portion of that, the idea that you have to do this is not coming from men. We do not care. I can assure you that.
Patriarchy, Instagram, the male gaze, pick your villain. And I've spoken before about the mistake we make when we put beauty as the highest and the only value. But what gets to me is when the conversation is built on gamma bias, when we inflate female disadvantages and minimize male ones, when the truth is that modern beauty standards hammer men much harder than women. And
And see, I do like this point, and this is half the reason I'm doing a react to this video, because I've never seen anyone really bring this point up, in that beauty standards are far more stringent and require far more effort from men than from women. Men have to be tall, which they have no control over, and they have to be muscular, or at the very least, that is the expectation for a large portion of the available female audience. Now, to what I just said about women doing it for women, there is an aspect of men doing it for men or themselves, or more specifically, doing it for that available pool of women. Because women who don't care about that and genuinely see a man for who he is and a lot of the other relevant details quickly get taken out of the market, because they find a high quality man. High quality does not mean tall. It means able to provide, has emotional maturity, is able to compromise, and has all of these other traits, let's say psychological traits, considering we're here at Psychobabble, to maintain that healthy relationship. Excuse me.
Women have a whole entire cultural machine dedicated to making them feel better, soothing, validating, therapizing their insecurities. What are men told? They're told, we don't want much, just a little hair, a little...
Now, excuse me. Now, to be fair, I do believe this was turned out to be a rage post. Now, that's just scuttlebutt that I absorbed through osmosis on social media. I haven't checked the original source, so do keep that in mind. But whether or not this was a rage post or is genuine is somewhat irrelevant to our discussion, because even if it is a rage post, the reason it got so much traction is because it does reflect a very real attitude that's out there in the market. Obviously, Henry Cavill is a god tier human. That is a god tier Adonis Apollo level physique, and absolutely unobtainable for the average man. And we're getting a little bit... So, red pill, the idea of the red pill or the manosphere, they do take it to an extreme, but they do also make a lot of logical points, and they do touch on a lot of very real pain and frustrations for men, because in order for a man to be attractive in the general market, again, having those high quality matches already taken out and spoken for, he does have to have this incredible physique, and that is extremely hard to obtain, especially whilst maintaining full-time employment. So you have to be this provider, and you have to have this physique, but the two are somewhat mutually exclusive. Now, they're not entirely mutually exclusive. You can do it in extreme cases, but then you do need an entire other support network. When I was doing my physical conditioning, the hardest part for me was actually just getting the calories in. And if you've ever followed any kind of person who does this professionally or is deep into this culture, you'll find that that is very common. People are blending up boiled chicken breasts and drinking chicken breast smoothies just to get the calories in. It is extremely difficult because muscles are hungry. They consume a lot of calories even at rest, because your body is efficient, and naturally over time your body will try and reduce that muscle mass just because it's not needed. So it's either a use it or lose it type scenario, but unfortunately to use it requires a lot of dedication. You have to spend a lot of time every day using those muscles in order to keep them. Now, I had great success with my physical conditioning, and that's not to brag, but I bring that up to point out, in order to do that, I had to do 3 to 4 hours a day, 4 days a week at minimum, and I had to do that for months and months and months in order to start seeing results. So all of these workout fads where it's like, oh, you'll get abs in 7 minutes, are absolutely incorrect, and they're just trying to misguide you. But back to the original point here of Henry Cavill, yes, this is absolutely unobtainable, and every reasonable person knows that this is unobtainable unless you dedicate yourself to that as the main thing that you do. Most reasonable people understand that, but there are a lot of unreasonable people out there who will genuinely demand this level of physique and this level of beauty from men, even though they still will understand it's not really obtainable, but they do have that internalized misandry about them, which is where the traction to this comes from.
Little muscle and a little fat. Is that so hard? Is that too much to ask? And much of this, I think, is Tinder, is the dating apps. It broke women's sense of self. It gives them this incredible.
I will also jump in again to state here, like, there is nothing wrong with going for the highest quality match that you are able to get. I see it in a lot of the red pill and manosphere content. There's a lot of bitterness surrounding that, but ultimately, you would do the same. We'll touch on the logic of it a little bit later, but there's nothing inherently wrong with trying to maximize the quality of your life partner. That is a good strategy. So trying to get the best that you can is fine, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's the methods that we're going to start criticizing shortly.
Inflated sense of worth, because the average woman receives hundreds.
And sorry, to touch on my further point, sorry, I was trying to get back around to the social media and the apps, the dating apps like Tinder. I mentioned in another video, there was actually a separate video that I watched that was a rather large and rotund gentleman who created an app posing as a girl called Rachel, and he put on a wig, he put on the full face of makeup, he got prosthetics, and he took some very specific photos, let's say. And I found this video really interesting because I'd never seen the raw numbers from the other side of it. Because as a man, even if you do optimize for certain things, you can go months without matches. And this person had 1,000 matches in a day, overnight. This female presenting person, even though it was a man and he had the facial structure of a man underneath all of that makeup, even though he had the long hair wig, he still got over 1,000 matches. So when you're a man on a dating app, you need to understand that's the level of competition. So these women are trying to filter out all of the air quote low quality matches and go only for those high quality matches. They have options, and they are the ones that are in demand because in a lawful society, I've said this before, they are the gatekeepers of sex. I won't reiterate this point too many times because I've already made it, but you need to understand that it's almost market forces here. They are in demand, you have the demand, they have choice, therefore they're naturally going to try and optimize it. There's nothing wrong there. And the part that pisses me off and where the bitterness comes in is if you had just told me what to optimize for in the first place, then I would have optimized for that and things would have been fine. Just tell me you want muscles, you want wealth, you want social status. And that's the other thing. What women really want is social status. They want that validation. You having muscles is a means to that end because those muscles are deemed an attractive quality. If they are seen with a man who has those attractive qualities, that means she is a air quote higher quality female that puts her above her peers because she can attract this high quality male. That is all what it's about. Where a lot of the red pill bitterness comes into it is we are told as men that you need to be stoic, you need to be quiet, you need to be understanding, you need to be sensitive, you need to be in touch with your emotions, you need to not get in her way, and you basically need to bow down to her. Now, there is a little bit built in about not being a doormat, that's true, but that's more said as there's not a lot of conviction behind not being a doormat when they tell you that. They only want you to not be a doormat in situations where they don't want you to be a doormat, right? So, and how are you meant to know what situations those are? So that's what we're told, and that's what a lot of people optimize for. And I optimized that. I optimized for that for a few years in a certain period of my life, and it never worked. I've said that before. It never worked, and you start to get frustration because what are you talking about? I have done everything that you want. I have optimized for the things that you want, and you are choosing these other unoptimized males over me. These males that have these negative qualities according to you, and you're choosing them over me. That flies in the face of the logic. You are meant to be optimizing for the highest quality mate that you're able to achieve. Why are you choosing these low quality options over myself? Even if I'm not the highest quality option, I am still far above the ranking of these other men. And the reason that happens is because they're telling you to optimize for the wrong thing. They are lying to you. And that's where a lot of this red pill frustration comes into it. Anyway, let's continue.
Of times more positive swipes than 90% of males, and it creates this psychological distortion. I must be extremely attractive Look how many matches I get. It discourages then self-reflection, self-development, self-improvement, and the pursuits of traits that actually sustain relationships. And it sets this.
Yes, because they want what looks best in a social situation, not what can form long-term foundations. Because a lot of the time you're going to encounter issues and you're not going to be in a social situation. So if what you value is that social status and you're in a situation where that's no longer relevant, then you're left with everything else. And your main reason for being with this particular person is not valid in this situation. So you're going to encounter difficulties if you don't have those other considerations there.
Stage for this modern beauty hypocrisy, because these same women who feel overwhelmed by male attention, they are the ones posting these Henry Cavill memes. Oh, we don't want much. This is the bare minimum. Can't you just look like this? When he certainly has had pharmaceutical help. He is not a normal guy. Let's do a visual contrast.
I've not seen that confirmed anywhere, so minor point of rebuttal, but then again, I also can't say that's not the case.
Take Audrey Hepburn. She is the gold standard of beauty, and should be saw.
We also do need to state, beauty is largely subjective as well. Yes, there are some generally agreed upon traits within the broader society. Their role is protectors and providers, so it does help that they are strong and have at least a little bit of dominance to them. And women are the caregivers, so it does help that they do have a soft-leaning, soft-spoken attitude. We are a dimorphic species, so trying to stick your fingers in your ear, stomp your feet, and say that that's not the case is just in defiance of science. And at that point, you're making a bad faith argument.
Soft, elegant, recognizably human. Now look at what Heston looked like in Ben-Hur. Strong, but no superhero nonsense. He looked like a real man. So back then you had female beauty.
I'm going to condense the argument that she's making here. So in today's society, the big issue is that in order to be attractive, men have to be superheroes and women have to exist.
Demanding, but attainable, and male beauty, demanding but realistic. Fast forward till today, and we are shown Florence Pugh praised as a resistance hero for rejecting unrealistic standards. She is the picture of beauty. She is the one all the steroid superheroes fall in love with. That's what they're telling us to believe. So no wonder average women think that Henry Cavill is the bare minimum, while complaining about the very standards she benefits from. And then we're told that Kamala Harris's stepdaughter, Ella Emhoff, who is aggressively ordinary, hailed as a fashion it girl and a style icon. We're told that she is the most beautiful girl in America. So what they've done is that they've turned the absence of beauty into some kind of moral achievement.
Now, I was considering whether I'd step in here, but for future reference, not so much for everyone of today, but if you're watching this in many years to come, just as a cultural touch point, she has used the term aggressively ordinary, and that is her being polite. Now, beauty is subjective, but from the current beauty standards today, she would be below average.
And then notice what happens when men dare to say, well, actually, this is what we find attractive. Enter Sydney Sweeney. She's one of the most uncontroversially attractive women alive. Curvy, feminine, blonde, openly leaning into the sex appeal. And the reaction? Pandering to the male gaze. Bad.
Do also note that part of this level of attraction is the attitude that goes along with the looks. That's Sydney Sweeney there. She was enjoying herself. She was putting on a show. We appreciate that, but it's more about, she's there willing to do that. There's no real sort of, oh, I hate you and everything you stand for type attitude, whereas the person previous definitely had a touch of that, and we'll see that more as we go.
For women, problematic. Oh, racist. It's an absurd double standard. And what this tells us is that female desire is moral, welcomed, and male desire is oppressive. suspicious. Men are told that if they don't find this feminist-approved icon attractive, they're shallow, fragile, weak men. And if they do find classically beautiful women attractive, then they're reinforcing patriarchal violence.
Again, to boil this down, take note of the underlying attitude is you have to be attractive for me, but I don't have to be attractive for you. How dare you?
Meanwhile, most average men are rejected so relentlessly, no wonder they turn to porn in record numbers. And we bully them for that too. Now, I'm not a fan. I think we should treat porn like we treat alcohol or certain drugs. It's not good for anyone. But when women reject men on...
I think that's a little bit of an extreme take. I know that some people struggle with it. Unfortunately, because I've never really struggled with that, and that's not me patting myself on the back. It's a means to an end. You have a biological urge every now and then. You have to take care of it. That just makes things go faster. I've never struggled with any kind of porn addiction. I know that there are people out there, but I would also suggest that there is more going on there rather than just the pornography itself. As long as things are consensual within pornography, there's really no issue. People can do what they like. Everyone's a private citizen in one form or another. And the critical part there is that consent. But once that is established and that is a known factor, then I mean, people should really be able to do what they want. If they're suffering from something like that, artificially restricting access is not addressing the root cause. So what she's saying here, I wouldn't really agree with that. And that's my point on the matter.
Mass, their loneliness is bound to show up somewhere. At least have the decency to acknowledge the root cause. So while women are told,
oh, there we go, thank you,
you're stunningly beautiful, have another piece of pie, men are told anything less than superhero, and it's the bare minimum. Women get to relax their standards and moralize their insecurities, and men get no body positivity campaigns, no love yourself, no empowerment slogans, not even basic sympathy, just mockery. And they're...
Yes, and that is all horrible, but women are the gatekeepers of sex. They are what is in demand. So that comes with a certain level of privilege, and these women are just taking advantage of that privilege. And that there is a logical sense to that. I'm not saying it's right or morally correct, but again, strip the emotion away from the situation, and perfectly reasonable from a logical perspective. Why would you not optimize if you have these thousands of matches and you can be extremely low quality and still be desired? Like there's no reason to put in effort or to increase your quality, because you're going to find a match no matter what, for the most part. Now, you're probably not going to get the quality of matches you want, and this is where a lot of the misandry comes into it, because they only want to be, and look, let's refer to HOMAF here. If you're below an 8 as a man, you're not a person, which is, unfortunately, that does seem to be the case, at the very least for the women that are available in the market. As I said before, if any woman doesn't have this attitude, if she is willing to exercise some level of self-introspection and make a logical choice there, she's very quickly taken out of the market by high-quality men who just do not meet the traditional definitions of attractive, because they have nerdy interests, or because they're not tall enough, or any of the, like, insert factor here.
Scolded for letting their sexuality out anywhere at all. So while we are endlessly debating beauty standards and their effect on women, what we're really watching perhaps is a power grab about who gets to decide beauty and whose desires count. Now,
see what she's saying here about controlling the narrative around beauty. If you want proof of that, look at, like, it's a bit of a oddball choice, but let's look at anime and the attempted censorship of anime. See, anime, for the most part, bypasses a lot of issues about body positivity and whatnot, because they are very clearly unrealistic proportions, and they're not meant to be. That's the point. It's escapism. It's fantasy. Now, we can have an argument, or we can have a discussion around how lollies are presented, and if you're a lolicon, then yeah, we're going to need to have a discussion about that. But let's assume, like, let's have a good faith argument here and just assume it is a proper, like, of age female presenting here. There's nothing wrong with having that escapism. That media is not made for everyone in particular. They know their audience and they know what their audience wants. But even though it is a sphere of influence completely outside a lot of these misandrists' typical walk of life, they still want to censor it. And it's not about, this is affecting me and therefore I want considerations. This is no, you cannot have this because I disagree with it. It is them imposing their values on a totally separate culture and a totally separate sphere of influence that has nothing to do with them. But everything needs to bend the knee to their political agenda and their political affiliation. So even though it has nothing to do with them, they're still going to target that. They're still going to try and censor that. They're still going to try and put ugly characters in the, I mean, you only have to look at video games. Look at every AAA game in the past few years, and the unattractive characters, or at least female characters, far outweigh any attractive female characters. Now, all of the men, or the vast majority of the men, still very attractive, still have those muscles, still have all of those traditionally masculine and attractive features, but not the women. And it's strange if you think about it, how that happens. Gee, I wonder why that would be. Okay, I shouldn't be being that facetious. We are a lot of intellectual here, but yes, that ties back to my original point. You have to be attractive for me, but I don't have to be attractive for you.
Anyone who'd look at a picture of Charlton Heston would say he has a dad bod, and Cavill becomes something they expect, something that falls in love with that really fat Australian actress.
Queen on a throne. Make him love you till you...
So what we are witnessing is
Rebel Wilson, for anyone who is not familiar.
two separate beauty markets, and that might be why women are so confused.
I don't think it's super relevant to the discussion, but I will also point out that she has lost a lot of weight recently, apparently against the advice of her marketing team, because that would supposedly affect her branding. So that's just a little interesting tidbit for you.
So on the one hand, you have the erotic market, classic femininity, health, and the other one where you have the female status market, the ideological validation. And that's
There you go. She's mentioning the female status now as well. Excellent.
what women reward each other for. And women confuse these two. They tell each other that when women present as for ideological validation in this female status beauty, that's the same as erotic beauty. And anyone who disagrees should be punished. And we've reached a point now where male attraction is treated like an intrusive thought in OCD, something to be corrected, neutralized, sanitized. Meanwhile, male body dissatisfaction has skyrocketed, as have these
So as an anecdotal reinforcement of this, I once went to a GP who is your basic family doctor, and I was having what did I go to him for? I suppose it's not super relevant, but I think I was having some kind of muscle pain or something to that effect, and it turned out to be nothing serious. I think I just pulled something. Anyway, those details aren't relevant. What's the reason I bring this up is during that discussion, I think I mentioned something along the lines of, I don't know, I was trying to work out either or. We got on the topic of muscles, and then totally unprompted, this doctor started talking, and this was a male doctor as well, started talking about, men are just seeing all of this positivity around women and they're feeling left out. All of this idea of dysmorphia, it's not true. They just want the attention. And that had me backpedal. Like, I'm just sitting in this chair in this doctor's office, and I was like knocked back, metaphorically, half a step to be like, what? And okay, so I do not have any body dysmorphia, thankfully, and I was not there because of body dysmorphia. But imagine this doctor, and this was his genuine attitude, as far as I could tell, as well. Imagine this doctor trying to treat a male who does have that body dysmorphia, who does genuinely think he is not muscular enough or he is not fit enough. It is just anorexia in reverse. And it's how you're a medical professional. Like, you are meant to be an intellectual. How can you, like, everyone is going to hold their own opinions, and that's fine. But when it comes to exercising and making choices in the real world, you need to put that aside. That is part of being a professional. That just worried me because he was so confident and so comfortable in bringing that forward unprompted to someone who, like, anyway, sorry, I'm starting to trip over myself here. I do apologize. It was just, in my opinion, an extremely inappropriate comment, and does make me worry that this is a trained, qualified professional. This is a doctor. This is someone you are meant to be able to trust. And if you go to them, you would expect that you are going to get a certain level of care, and you're not going to be judged, and you're not going to be dismissed. And I can hear a few women, shouting in the comments here. And yes, that's not correct either. We are advocating for both sides here. If you're in pain, you should be taken seriously and not just have it be written off as being a woman, or just being what was the thing the Victorians always had, being hyper something. The word escapes me, but not hypocritical. Either way, leave a comment if you remember the word that I'm referring to here. Either way, everyone should be taken seriously. Sorry, excuse me. Sorry, everyone should be taken seriously, and they should be receiving a good level of care without that judgment. So it just threw me back that actually happened, and this is me acting as a primary source because this is something that actually happened within my own experience and reinforces what we are seeing here on screen.
Performance enhancing drugs and techniques that Andrew Huberman swears by, and nobody cares. No, men are told to hit the gym, level up, get therapy, dress better, you're not entitled to attraction, while women are told unfollow triggers, love your body, you deserve love and affection by default. And then we call the result unfair beauty standards for women. And this gamma bias is the result of a 150-year-long war on male sexuality. This is the end point of a campaign to pathologize male desire. And that's where this porn debate really, that's where they lose me. Because it all began in the 1830s with Sarah Grimke, female desire is virtue and male desire is a vice.
And I want everyone to just pay attention to what she's saying here, because she is citing a lot of sources, and I found this really interesting when I watched this through the first time.
Sarah Grimke already warned that males were governed by animal passions. And Elizabeth Cady Stanton said...
Hysterical. That was the word I was looking for. Sorry, hysterical women. You get labelled as hysterical just for having period pains in the Victorian times, and that's not fair either. Thankfully, I do believe we've moved past that, but there are still some clingers onto that.
Marital sex was legalized prostitution because male libido was inherently selfish. Francis Willard linked male sexual desires to addiction, vice, and corruption. Charlotte Perkins Gilman called male sexuality primitive and female sexuality civilizing. Already then, we saw it. Male contaminate, women uplift. Already for 150 years, women's desires have been treated as morally pure, while men's desire has been treated as a pathology. And the second wave feminists, they built on this. They took it further. Shulamith Firestone said in 1970, she equated male desire, male libido, with biological oppression. Brown Miller called male sexuality a collective threat. Dworkin in 1987 said that male desire is domination. Then McKinnon said that sexuality is to feminism what work is to Marxism. Desire equals hierarchy. And if we look at it like this, the madness makes sense. This is why Florence Pugh's nipples are political triumphs, and why Ella Emhoff's plainness is political art for some reason. And this is really all about controlling men's sexuality. Women are allowed to desire freely. They're allowed to post things like this, while men, they have to justify their desire morally, and they have to somehow live up to women's incredibly inflated.
if you do want to see how far this goes, I mean, just look for any man who expresses a lack of attraction to overweight women, and see how quickly that conversation turns into pure vitriol.
Sense of self after the dating apps. Women who have increasingly become unable to sacrifice to sustain a relationship, endlessly complaining and going through men and relationships like they are apples they pick from a tree, good or bad. I don't have to do anything. Now, are they happier for it? No. Are they liberated? No. Are they backed by the full academic weight of feminism from 1830 till today? Yes.
There we go. Excellent. So guys, if you did enjoy that, like Hannah Spier, definitely worth a watch, definitely worth a subscribe, I would make the argument for. But yeah, she does break down a lot of things like this, and she does come at it from that psychological perspective, which is really, really great to see. Now, a lot of the red pill rhetoric, I do tend to counter at least a little bit, because some of it does get out of touch with reality, and that doesn't serve anyone's purpose, well, unless that purpose is nefarious. I want you to think about who benefits in convincing you to not breed, in convincing you to not even try with women because they're all horrible and they all only want Henry Cavill level men. Like, if you self-defeat, then they have already won 1,000 battles that they didn't even have to fight. It is the Tarkin doctrine being used against you. And unfortunately, because of the way algorithms are, this type of content does get a lot of engagement. But even in the midst of all of this, there are still good women out there, and there are still women who would be with you if you're able to show yourself as having value. And by having value, I do not mean, being a Adonis level bodybuilder either. Like, you have to put in some effort. She has to put in some effort, because here's the thing that a lot of red pill media and red pill rhetoric doesn't want you to focus on, is that a lot of women are able to exercise some level of logic and some level of countenance. Now, yes, we can have a discussion all day about what percentage of women that is, but again, I want to bring you back to the original point of who benefits from convincing you to not even try, who benefits from convincing you to not breed, not have a family, and we do tie into a lot of other economic issues there as well, but I want you to think about that and not just get caught up in your own algorithm. The algorithm is an engagement machine. It is going to show you outrage above everything else for the most part. And it is going to try and convince you of things that become easier and easier to believe the further you slip into that mindset and you go down that rabbit hole. So even in the darkest of days, there is still hope. If the battle was truly lost, then their propaganda would not be necessary, right? Like that's a line that I learned recently, and I think I'm going to be using a lot. Now, that's not to say there are no unreasonable people out there. Yes, I can guarantee you are going to encounter them. Yes, it can be difficult. I have been there myself on the app, swiping for months. It can be difficult and it can be disheartening, but it is a form of psychological warfare to try and convince you to not even try. I want to give you a little bit of hope here, brothers. There is a day for you where you do have a wife, a partner who values you, a partner who will compromise for you and with you, and you will be able to work together to come to a consensus and have that life. It will never be perfect. No life will ever be perfect, but there is someone out there for you. Don't let this rhetoric and this attitude take that away from you. Anyway, guys, we have gone on for a while here, so let's wrap it up. Thank you so much for coming. I'll quickly do the regular YouTube things. Do please subscribe and like the video. Liking the video adds it to your liked list, which means you can easily find it again. And subscribing is a protection against shadow banning, because as you've seen, we tackle a lot of controversial topics here, both on the right and on the left, but we do know the left loves to deplatform people, so that is a protection against shadow banning. With that, guys, I'll let you get back to it. Please enjoy the rest of your day.